Hello class, today we're going to learn about World War I.
World War One?
Yes, World War I was a world war that began in July 1914 and lasted throughout November 1918.
Who was involved in this war?
This book right here will tell you all about it.
On Sunday, June 1914, in Sarajevo, at approximately 10:45 a.m., Archduke Franz Ferdinand was standing on a busy street when he was shot and killed by Gavrilo Princip, 19 at the time.
No! Ah!
Gavrilo Princip, a member of Young Bosnia and one of a group of assassins organized and armed by the Black Hand.
The Black Hand was a secret military society formed on May 9, 1911, involving officers from Serbia.
This event was a major cause to the breakout of World War I because alliances formed to keep each other safe. Enemies became more dangerous.
Examples of alliances were Russia and Serbia, Germany and Austria-Hungary, Britain and France and Belgium, France and Russia, and Japan and Britain.
Imperialism was another major cause of World War I. Imperialism is when a country increases their wealth and power by taking over additional territories in order to use their goods.
India was imperialized by Britain, Africa was imperialized by France, British was imperialized by Austria-Hungary and Russia. Also, Britain attempted to imperialize over China but failed.
Another huge cause of World War I was militarism. By 1914, Germany had the greatest increase in military buildup, which means more soldiers were joining the army.
This increase in militarism helped push the country's involvement to the start of the war. Nationalism was also a big effect in the start of World War I. Nationalism was the idea of a country being more powerful and greater than any other country. Nationalism caused the Slavic people of Bosnia and Herzegovina to become a part of Serbia instead of belonging to Austria-Hungary.
Oh, so that's how it started. What was life like during the war? It must have been very horrible for the soldiers.
Good question, Lucy. I was just about to get into that in the next chapter.
The soldiers' life during World War I was horrific. Trench warfare was a dangerous part of World War I. Trench warfare was when soldiers were significantly protected by their enemies in these man-made trenches. The efficiency of trench warfare was effectively ended with the invention of the tank. Soldiers got sick from the trench influenza because once someone got it, the whole trench got it. Soldiers also got trench foot from standing in feet of water over time. The British Army treated 20,000 soldiers for trench foot during the winter of 1914 to 1915.
The first major trench lines were completed in late November 1914. At their peak, the trenches built by both sides extended nearly 400 miles from Nieuport on the Belgian coast to the Swiss border.
Every soldier carried iron rations, emergency food that consisted of a can of Bully Bee biscuits and a tin of tea and sugar. 1/3 of all casualties on the Western Front may have been killed or wounded in the trench.
An effect of World War I was the Armenian Genocide. In 1915, leaders of the Turkish government set in motion a plan to expel and massacre Armenians living in the Ottoman Empire. Many sources state that over 2 million people were involved in this massacre. In 1914, the Turks entered World War I on the side of Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The Turks claimed that the Armenians were traitors. Meanwhile this was happening, Ottoman religious authorities declared jihad, or holy war, against all Christians except their allies. These events and Turkish suspicion of the Armenian people forced the Turkish government to push for the removal of the Armenians along the Eastern Front. On April 24, 1915, the Armenian Genocide began. On this day, several hundred Armenians were arrested or executed. Other Armenians were sent out on death marches without food or water. People who stopped to rest were shot. The marchers were forced to walk under the hot sun until they passed out. Ever since this event happened, the Turkish government still denies to this day that it was in fact a genocide. World War I had devastating effects on Europe and other nations involved, including America. The World War demolished Austria-Hungary and the Russian Empire.
New states were established out of these former empires, including Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland.
Communism grew in Eastern Europe, and France and Britain gained many new territories from the defeated nations. Germany, Austria, and Turkey lost most of their land and resources. As a result of the USA joining in 1916, industry production in America boomed.
New technology was invented during the war in America in order to keep up with the pace of needing new goods. New technology and machinery were invented during this time to increase production and quality of goods. Tanks were a huge innovation used by soldiers throughout the war.
This war allowed women to get jobs and be involved in the workforce, which helped pass the 19th Amendment.
Germany had entered the war with great confidence and power. Once defeated, they were left in poverty and defeat.
Austria-Hungary collapsed during the war, torn apart by its multinational divisions. In Russia, the war led to the Russian Revolution and the Civil War, which continued the conflict for 3 years after World War I. The Civil War involved almost total defeat of the economy and, by 1921, a massive famine.
The World War was a huge event all across the globe that left many people either deceased, without a home, without a loved one, poverty-stricken, or famished. This event truly changed history and made an impact on millions of people around the world.
I hate it.
Go back and pause that.
I knew what it said, I just did.
I knew what it said, I just...
You probably threw it. Oh, ding dong. It's right there. It's right there.
Where?
Oh my god, you're such a dummy.
Now I gotta redo this one.
I've got to move on and be who I am. I just don't belong here. I hope you understand.